because of my son, I feel able to love everybody.
She was the most unforgettable Catwoman. The woman in the black suit who made Batman fumble his words and Robin nervous. Then she seemed to vanish from the spotlight, leaving fans wondering for decades. So what really happened to Julie Newmar? The making of a star. Julia Shaleen Newmar was born on August 16, 1933, in Los Angeles, California. Her parents weren't ordinary people. Her father, Don Newmar, had played professional football for the Los Angeles Buccaneers in 1926, then became head of the physical education department at Los Angeles City College. Her mother, Helene Jesmer, had been a star in the Follies of 1920 and later worked as a fashion designer under the professional name Shaleen. From the earliest age, Julie was immersed in the arts. She studied piano, dance, and classical ballet. She wasn't just taking lessons to pass the time. She was exceptional. By age 15, she had already graduated from John Marshall High School in Los Angeles. Most teenagers that age were just starting high school. Julie was done and moving forward. She spent a year touring Europe with her mother and brother, soaking in culture and art. When she returned, she became prima ballerina for the Los Angeles Opera. She was still a teenager. She attended UCLA, studying classical piano, philosophy, and French. But Los Angeles in the early 1950s wasn't the place to be if you wanted a serious career in theater or ballet. Everyone serious about performing arts went to New York. So Julie went to New York. She auditioned for Broadway musicals. In 1955, at age 21, she made her Broadway debut as Vera in Silk Stockings, a musical with music by Cole Porter. The show ran for 478 performances. Julie was noticed. The following year, in 1956, she created the role of Stupefying Jones in the Broadway production of Lil Abner. It was only a 3-minute cameo, but audiences never forgot her. She stayed with the production from November 1956 through July 1958. During that run, she became known for her ability to stop the show. Audiences would erupt in applause the moment she walked on stage, even though her character only appeared for a few minutes. That's star power. That's the kind of presence you can't teach or fake. She also appeared in the 1959 film version of Lil Abner, immortalizing Stupefying Jones on screen. Then came the role that would win her awards and establish her as a serious actress, not just a beautiful face. In 1958, the marriage go-round opened on Broadway. Julie played Katrin Sveg, a Swedish woman who arrives to stay with an older university couple and throws their lives into chaos. Her character walked around in just a towel and asked the husband, a professor played by Charles Boyer, to father her child so the baby would combine perfect beauty with perfect intelligence. Claudette Colbert played the wife. It was provocative, funny, sophisticated, and required impeccable comic timing. The audience had to believe that this woman was both innocent and dangerous, naive and calculating. Julie won the 1959 Tony Award for Best Featured Actress in a Play. She was 25 years old. She had arrived. In 1961, she reprised the role for the film adaptation starring James Mason and Susan Hayward, earning a Golden Globe nomination for Most Promising Newcomer. That same year, she took on another iconic stage role, playing Lola in Damn Yankees. She was busy, successful, and becoming known as a stunning presence who could actually act. But nothing she had done prepared the world for what came next. A phone call that changed everything.
You have to be something. Yes, you can be everything, but you're known as something.
Julie was living in a beautiful penthouse on Beekman Place in New York. It was a weekend in 1966. Her brother John was visiting from Harvard with 5 or 6 of his friends. They were sitting around the living room, just talking, when the phone rang. An agent from Hollywood was on the line. Would Julie be interested in playing a character called Catwoman on a television series called Batman? Julie had never heard of Batman. She wasn't allowed to read comic books as a child, so the character meant nothing to her. She was about to politely decline when her brother physically leaped off the sofa. He and his Harvard friends watched Batman religiously. They would skip classes and crowd into the television room to watch the show together. Her brother practically shouted at her, "Do it, take the role." Julie said yes. She flew to Los Angeles that weekend. She got the scripts. She had a costume fitting on Tuesday. By Wednesday, she was in rehearsal. The show wanted her to start Monday. That's how fast television moved in those days. There was just one problem. Julie had never played a villain before. She'd been a ballerina, a dancer, a comedic actress playing temptresses and beautiful women. But a bad guy? Someone mean and threatening? In the 1950s and early 1960s, women in Hollywood weren't cast as villains unless they were in low-budget films. Nice actresses played nice roles. Playing Catwoman gave Julie permission to be dangerous, to be bad, to use her sexuality as a weapon. She found it liberating and deeply satisfying. Finally, she could be something other than just beautiful. The costume they gave her was black lurex, a metallic fabric. It was supposed to fit her figure, but Julie wasn't satisfied with how it looked. She was a dancer. She understood bodies, lines, and how fabric moved. She took the costume home and modified it herself. She sewed an S-curve seam into the waistline. She moved the belt from the waist to the hips to emphasize her hourglass figure. The result was a costume so iconic, it's now in the Smithsonian Institution. When Julie appeared as Catwoman in 1966, something chemical happened between her and Adam West, who played Batman. The show's writer, Stanley Ralph Ross, wrote scenes that dripped with romantic tension. Catwoman wasn't just a villain. She was a woman in love with Batman, constantly trying to seduce him away from Robin and his crime fighting. In one famous scene, Julie slid down a railing and told Batman she wanted to marry him. She choreographed that sequence herself to look like something out of Bob Fosse or Jack Cole, the legendary dance choreographers. They shot it in one 3-minute take. At one point in the take, Julie turned her back to the camera, showing off her figure. She was a dancer. She knew exactly what she was doing. Decades later, that clip would generate countless comments online from fans who remembered exactly how they felt watching Julie Newmar as Catwoman. Julie appeared in 12 episodes of Batman across the first 2 seasons, 1966 and 1967. Just 12 episodes, but those appearances were so memorable, so charged with charisma and sexuality and humor, that she became permanently associated with the role. When people think of Catwoman, many still picture Julie Newmar first. She couldn't appear in the 3rd season because she had a movie commitment. Eartha Kitt took over the role for the final season. But by then, Julie Newmar had already cemented her place in television history.
It's all about what's happening now, being current, and what's about to happen. That gives me enthusiasm.
The robot that nobody remembers. Before Catwoman, Julie had starred in another television series that should have made her famous, but somehow didn't. In 1964 and 1965, she played the lead role in My Living Doll, a sitcom about a robot named Rhoda who looked like a beautiful woman but had an IQ over 180. Julie had to play Rhoda as emotionless, perfectly logical, without human timing or reactions. It was, she later said, the hardest role of her entire career. Harder than Catwoman, harder than any Broadway show. Playing someone without emotions meant throwing off all the natural rhythms of comedy. She couldn't react the way humans react. She had to create an entirely different physicality and timing. The show developed a cult following, but it only lasted 1 season. When Batman made Julie a household name a year later, My Living Doll became a footnote, something fans barely remembered. Julie herself called it a hiccup in her career, overshadowed by the massive popularity of Catwoman. Throughout the 1960s and 1970s, Julie worked constantly in television. She guest-starred on The Twilight Zone, playing Miss Devlin, the devil herself, in an episode called Of Late I Think of Cliffordville. She appeared on F Troop as Yellow Bird, a girl who had been kidnapped as a child and raised by Native Americans. On Bewitched, she played a cat named Ophelia who was given human form. On the Beverly Hillbillies, she was a Swedish actress who came to learn the Clampetts' accents. She appeared on Get Smart as a double agent posing as a maid in Maxwell Smart's apartment. On Route 66, she played a motorcycle-riding, free-spirited heiress in 2 episodes. She was always cast as the Temptress, the Amazonian beauty, the woman who unsettled male characters. Julie stood 5 feet 11 inches tall, towering over many co-stars. In an era when women were supposed to be small and delicate, Julie was statuesque and commanding. It was typecasting, but Julie understood comedy and brought intelligence to every role. In 1973, she was cast in a Broadway play called Boom Boom Room by David Rabe. It was opening at the Vivian Beaumont Theater at Lincoln Center. This was major, but during rehearsals, the director, Julie Bavasso, fired her. Julie was replaced by her understudy. Bavasso herself was then replaced as director during previews. The whole production was a disaster, but it stung. Getting fired during rehearsals was humiliating. Julie continued working, but the roles became smaller. Guest appearances on television, small parts in low-budget films. By the 1980s, she was appearing in movies like Evils of the Night, a crude science fiction film, and Ghosts Can't Do It in 1990, one of the worst-reviewed films of the year. These weren't the projects an actress with a Tony Award and iconic television role should have been doing. Something had changed in Julie's life, something that mattered more than her career. A miracle baby and a choice. In 1977, Julie married J. Holt Smith, a lawyer. She was 44 years old. They moved to Fort Worth, Texas, leaving Hollywood behind. For 4 years, Julie tried to have a baby. She suffered 3 miscarriages. The pain of losing 3 pregnancies took its toll, but Julie didn't give up. In 1981, when Julie was 47 years old, she gave birth to a son. They named him John Jewel Smith. After 3 miscarriages and years of hoping, John was a miracle. Julie was overjoyed. John was born with Down syndrome. 3 years later, when John was just 3 years old, he contracted meningitis. The infection robbed him of his hearing. A few years after that, he lost his ability to speak. John became deaf and mute. In 1984, when John was just 3 years old, Julie and J. Holt Smith divorced. Some sources say they divorced in 1983. Others say 1984. The details of why they separated were never made public, but the result was clear.
Writing is a wonderful way to answer the questions that no one else can answer.
Julie became a single mother raising a child with Down syndrome, hearing impairment, and inability to speak. Many actresses would have hired full-time help and continued their careers. Julie made a different choice. She decided that John needed her more than Hollywood needed her. She devoted herself to raising him, giving him the love and attention he required. She didn't see his conditions as afflictions. She saw him as a blessing. Julie has always been open about this decision and what it means. She told Closer magazine that having a child with Down syndrome has been very helpful and positive for her. She refused to think of John as afflicted or damaged. She told parents everywhere that they should never feel like they have an afflicted child. He lives with her, and she considers him a wonderful artist. He's highly developed, she said. He's a blessing to be around. John is what makes my life great, she told the magazine. He's the cause of the great expansion of my outlook on life. Because John is deaf and mute, visual things bring him tremendous delight. He experiences the world differently than most people, and Julie learned to see through his eyes. It taught her patience, expanded her capacity for love, and showed her what truly matters in life. He's such a highly developed human being, she said, that being around him is a privilege. John uses visual arts to express himself since he can't speak. In 2016, Julie announced on Facebook that John had started working as an artist. She was proud. Despite everything he'd been through, John had found a way to communicate with the world through his art. Julie's decision to prioritize John meant stepping away from the spotlight at the peak of her fame. She was Catwoman. She could have leveraged that role for decades of appearances, conventions, and projects. Instead, she chose her son. She chose quiet devotion over public celebrity. It's a choice that reveals something essential about who Julie Newmar really is beneath the Catwoman costume and the Hollywood glamour. The unexpected comeback. Julie didn't disappear entirely. In the 1990s, she experienced an unexpected renaissance. Fashion designer Thierry Mugler, whose work was heavily inspired by Julie's Catwoman costume, made her one of his regular runway models. Julie, now in her late 50s and 60s, walked the runways of Paris wearing Mugler's dramatic designs. She appeared in his music video for George Michael's Too Funky in 1992, looking as stunning as ever. In 1995, a film called To Wong Fu, Thanks for Everything, Julie Newmar was released. It starred Patrick Swayze, Wesley Snipes, and John Leguizamo as drag queens on a road trip, who were inspired by an autographed photo of Julie Newmar. Julie appeared in a cameo as herself at the end of the film. The movie was a love letter to her enduring status as an icon. Drag performers had admired Julie for decades, seeing in her Catwoman a kind of fierce feminine power that resonated with them. Julie embraced this. She became a vocal supporter of LGBT rights. Her brother John, the one who convinced her to play Catwoman, is gay. Julie saw firsthand the discrimination and challenges he faced. She became an advocate, eventually receiving a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Gay and Lesbian Elder Housing Organization in Los Angeles. In 2003, Julie appeared in a television movie called Return to the Batcave. The Misadventures of Adam and Bert. She reunited with Adam West, Burt Ward, and Frank Gorshin, who had played the Riddler. They played themselves in a story about the making of the Batman series. Rights issues prevented them from using much footage from the original show, but seeing the cast together again delighted fans. Then, in 2016, something remarkable happened. 50 years after she first played Catwoman, Julie was asked to voice the character in an animated film called Batman: Return of the Caped Crusaders. It was styled after the 1960s television series. Julie reprised her role, bringing Catwoman back to life 5 decades later. In 2017, she did it again in Batman vs. Two-Face. Her voice had aged, but the essence of the character was still there. The playfulness, the seduction, the humor. Julie Newmar, now in her 80s, proved that some performances are timeless.
Because if you believe it, the audience believes it.
The woman behind the mask. Beyond acting, Julie proved to be a savvy businesswoman. In the 1970s, she invented and patented a new kind of pantyhose. She called them Newmar. They featured a special shaping band designed for what she called cheeky derriere relief. She holds 3 U.S. patents, 2 for pantyhose designs and 1 for a brassiere. In 1977, People magazine ran a photo of Julie wearing her Newmar invention. She marketed them herself. Julie also invested heavily in real estate. She went back to UCLA to take courses in property investment. She bought properties in Los Angeles neighborhoods and helped revitalize them. She became what some called a real estate mogul. While other actresses were struggling to find work as they aged, Julie was building a second fortune through smart investments. She never remarried after her divorce from J. Holt Smith. She was linked romantically to several men over the years, including actor Gardner McKay, novelist Louis L'Amour, and comedian Mort Saul, but no relationships led to marriage. Julie seemed content being single, focusing on her son and her business interests. Julie also dealt with her own health challenges. She has Charcot-Marie-Tooth disease, an inherited neurological condition that affects about 1 in every 2,500 Americans. It causes progressive weakening and atrophy of muscles in the limbs. Julie has been public about living with this condition, raising awareness and showing that it's possible to live a full life even with chronic illness. Her 2 younger brothers had very different fates. Peter Bruce Newmar was killed in a skiing accident. John A. Newmar became a writer, epidemiologist, and winemaker. He's the brother who convinced her to take the Catwoman role, changing the trajectory of her life forever. Still going strong. Today, Julie Newmar is 92 years old. She lives in her home in Brentwood, California, with her son John, who is now 44. They've traveled the world together, particularly enjoying trips to Southeast Asia. John continues to create art, finding joy and expression through visual mediums. Julie still makes occasional appearances at comic book conventions and fan events. She meets with fans who have adored her for decades, many of whom weren't even born when Batman originally aired. She's gracious, funny, and still strikingly beautiful. She has never tried to hide her age or pretend to be something she's not. In 2004, when the Halle Berry Catwoman film was released to terrible reviews and worse box office, Julie attended the Razzie Awards and accepted the Worst Picture Award on behalf of the film. She had originated the Catwoman character on television. She had made it iconic, and she had the humor and grace to accept an award for the worst version of it. The audience gave her a standing ovation. When asked about her career, Julie has always said the same thing. Tell me I'm beautiful, and it's nothing. Tell me I'm intellectual, and I know it already. Tell me I'm funny, and it's the greatest compliment in the world. She wanted to be known for her comedy, her timing, her intelligence. Being beautiful was just what she was born with. Being funny was what she worked for. Julie's IQ is 135. She graduated high school at 15. She speaks multiple languages. She has patents. She built a real estate empire. She won a Tony Award. She created one of the most memorable characters in television history in just 12 episodes. And she gave all of it up, or at least put it aside, to raise her son with devotion and love. That's what really happened to Julie Newmar. She didn't fade away or fail. She didn't lose her looks or her talent. She made a choice. She chose to be a mother first. She chose her son over fame. And in doing that, she showed more strength and character than any role she ever played. The woman who played Catwoman, the ultimate bad girl, turned out to be one of the most selfless people in Hollywood. She's still here, still going strong at 92, still making people smile, still showing up for fans who remember that black suit and that unforgettable voice. Julie Newmar is living proof that true stardom isn't just about being famous. It's about being true to yourself and the people you love, even when the cameras stop rolling. If you enjoyed learning about what really happened to Julie Newmar, please like and subscribe to our channel for more fascinating stories about your favorite stars.